Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Devin Allen, Commissioner Precinct 2. Gary Fickes, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.T. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Pastor Cody Bailey with the Alliance Community Fellowship Church, and also the First Lieutenant in Texas Air National Guard. We appreciate very much you coming out today. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Representatives, and men and women of Tarrant County. Thank you for allowing me to serve in this capacity. If it inclines you to do so, please join me in prayer this morning. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to open up in prayer to you. Lord, you give authority here on earth, and we recognize that this morning. Lord, we ask that as these cases are heard, that sound judgment, that peace, that harmony and unity is in this courtroom this morning. We also ask for strength and courage for those who are presenting this morning. Lord, please give them the confidence knowing that you have created them uniquely for this moment, and give them the confidence to do so. Lord, we thank you for this county, this courtroom, this city, this state, and this nation. Lord, we love you, and we come humbly before you this morning. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Pastor. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, several announcements as relates to the agenda this morning. We go to the purchasing agenda on item 815. That is bid number 2022-156. We're going to hold that particular item for 1 week. We'll come back to you on that at a later date. Also, members of the court, we are going to take various items out of order in the agenda. Once we get to the administrator section, we're going to go to the briefing agenda, and we'll hear a report from the Techstars program. You might remember this is a program that we are participating in along with the UNT Health Science Center. Then also we're going to be asking Mr. Tenasia to come forward and give his presentation concerning health issues related to Tarrant County. And also, Your Honor, I believe we do have some audience participation forms. One is on the minutes, and the other ones that I have are just public comment.
Okay. At this time, as it's on our agenda, is Commissioner Court announcements, and we got somebody going to retire.
Indeed.
On July the 1st. Tom, go ahead and stand up. And his young bride of 48 years, Cheryl, is also with him today. Tom has been with Tarrant County since 2001, joined us at the same time that Betsy was elected tax assessor collector. He had worked for Lockheed. He had worked in the governor's office. He graduated from Texas Tech. There you go. There's one of them Texas Tech folk. It's almost as bad as that whoop that every once in a while shows up. Tom has had a chance to work for 3 tax assessor collectors, and really, you modernized. You and Betsy, the 10 years that she was tax assessor collector, y'all really modernized our tax assessor and tax collection department. Started out, some of these things just amazed me. When you started, there was 2 ways you could pay your taxes. You could pay it in person, or you could pay it by mail. Now you can pay it by person or mail, online, over the phone, bank check, wire transfer. You know, we're going to get that money any way we can. When you started, there were 500,000 accounts. Now we have over 2 million accounts. Used to be basically every day, armored car come around and collect the checks and the cash, and they take it to the bank, and then the bank would begin to try to and it sometimes would take a week or more for a check to clear. Now it's all done electronically, and basically it was a pilot project. As I recall, you said ACH and Image, and it was a pilot project that Chase had, and it's now pretty much all over the country, I believe. We have been the kind of the pilot or been the leader in a lot of different stuff. Used to be that when the statements went out, we folded and stuffed them by hand. Now that's done a little bit more electronically. So, again, I think that with your leadership and with the leaders that, the tax assessor collectors that you've had a chance to work with, y'all have really brought that office into the 21st century, and we appreciate that very much. You said it was very challenging, that you'd always had a great staff, and you said it was the best job ever. And as another one that is getting ready to give this up, I would echo what you're saying. I can't think of a better place than the county to end my career, as well as you're ending your career here. Tom says that he's looking forward to, that they're looking forward to traveling. I believe Cheryl said you retired about the end of January, first part of February. I said, well, I'm going to check with you in about 6 months to see what it's like having both of you home at the same time. Yeah.
Ready to bring it back.
That's right. That's right. Now, y'all have been married for 48 years. Brenda and I just celebrated our 46th anniversary, but we're ahead of you. We got 9 grandkids. You said you have 5. So we're a little bit ahead. And he wrote this to us. He said, I want to the court, I want to thank you for the part you played to support the tax office to grow and expand services. The leadership and support of Tarrant County at the top of the list of counties in Texas when it comes to doing things correctly and efficiently. The constant stream of inquiries and visitors asking how does Tarrant County tax office does only validates the success of what y'all do and the effort. I think Tarrant County does lead the way in many, many different areas, and I think it's because we have elected officials who really, their mission is a public service. It's a passion for public service. So, Tom, we appreciate very, very much the years of service that you've given to Tarrant County, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you do. Now, if you'd like to make a comment, you're welcome to do that.
No, I have some boxes to pack. I'll excuse myself, I actually have a meeting, so thank you all for your kind words, and thank you for inviting me to be with you.
Yeah, when you get those boxes home and you get them empty, would you bring them back up here?
I don't roll on tight budgets.
Thank you.
I
Thank y'all
want
very
to
much.
thank Tom for his service, for his many years of friendship. All that stuff about expanding the tax office and making it more accessible, that's good stuff, and that's stuff that you can be proud of as you end your career in the tax office. But what is most memorable to me is that you were that guy who I would always call when a citizen had a problem. and you knew the various tax laws and procedures well enough to be able to craft creative solutions for citizens who had problems. You've helped me with widows, with orphans, with churches who thought they should be entitled to a tax exemption just because they were churches. And we were always able to work through those situations and find a solution that directed the citizen towards being whole, being safe, being comfortable. What I want to thank you for is your compassion. And we're going to miss you. I don't know how the tax assessor collector is going to replace you or with whom, but it ain't going to be the same. Thank you, Tom, for
Thank you.
being a friend.
Enjoy the traveling. Report back. Report back. Thank y'all very much. Thank you. Court members, we now have before you the minutes of our well, did anyone else have anything else to say? Then you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of June the 21st.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. We do have a audience participation. Daniel Bennett. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. I just want to focus on the public comments of the last meeting, make sure they're annotated correctly inside the minutes. I have not read the minutes, but I'd just like to correct something that may be necessary to correct. There was a Mr. Torlin Cassie last week stated there were 73 governmental bodies or something like that rely on them to collect taxes, and I believe Judge Whitley correctly corrected Mr. Torlin Cassie. What Judge Whitley stated, one fact, I might just mention the fact that Tarrant Appraisal District does not collect taxes. They simply appraise the value of the properties. Well, I have an issue with that statement because I believe that's partly true. And I don't want someone to get the minutes and read that and believe that's how it is. They do collect taxes. You guys pay them a check. You collect taxes from me, and then you give my taxes to them to do the valuations. So they do collect taxes. Now, it's a small part, but they do collect taxes, just not in the way that Mr. Torlin Cassie stated and the way I believe the judge tried to correct it. So I want to make sure that's okay in the minutes. Thank you.
Well, I would probably disagree with that just because we collect taxes here for a number of entities. We give, and then we distribute those taxes, and then those entities decide how they're going to spend the tax dollars, but they don't collect it. We choose to spend some of the tax dollars with the appraisal district.
I understand that the tax assessor collector under the property tax code is an optional item. You can have your own tax assessor collector. But the way the property tax code reads, most small entities cannot afford a property tax assessor collector. So in that case, they do send a check to Ms. Burgess's office to collect those taxes on their behalf.
But we don't collect anything for TAD.
Well, that I understand, but you do send them a check to do the valuations for the Commissioners Court in the county.
We fund their budget along with a lot of other entities.
That's absolutely correct, but you do it with taxable money.
And I'm going to disagree, and I'm not going to change the minutes for that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
My comment would be that when we pay TAD, it's paying a bill, like when we pay for the lights or the gas or anything else that we write a check for. It's paying a bill. Them accepting it is not collecting taxes. it's balancing their books.
Okay, I'll agree with that, Commissioner Brooks. But that money does come from the taxpayer. And I just want to make sure the taxpayer understands how TAD operates and is funded. And I believe that conversation might mislead the public thinking that TAD somehow funds its own budget, not through the taxing entities. And I think it was a little confusing in the dialogue. And I just want to make sure that's known to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson? Commissioner Fickus?
Yes.
Commissioner Fickus, would you? There you go. Motion passes unanimously. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, if we can go to the briefing items now, we're going to take up item 11A. This is the Techstars program update. Mr. Trey Bowles is with us this morning, and he is the managing director of Techstars. And we're going to ask him to come forward and begin his presentation. As Trey comes forward, just note, you might recall that the county is participating in this particular program along with the city of Fort Worth and UNT Health Science Centers. And so we have contributed $2.4 million on this program, and it's a 3-year program. So Trey, you want to take it away?
Wonderful, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
As you mentioned, my name is Trey Bowles, Managing Director of Techstars Physical Health Fort Worth. My colleague Jordan Warneman is here. She's our Program Manager. I'm coming this morning to give you an update. I think it's been a while since you guys were last briefed on, since you made the decision to participate, which we thank you for that. It's an integral part of what makes our program work. So I have a short presentation today that I'll be able to speak to, sort of remind you who Techstars is as an organization, what we do, and then I'll get into some more specific updates as to what's actually been done in Fort Worth since I started in February. Oh, there's the presentation. All right, so Techstars is a worldwide network that helps entrepreneurs succeed. We're a global investment firm. We have several different products that we make available to help entrepreneurs, everything from entrepreneurs at the idea stage, with a product called Startup Weekend. We have a product called Startup Week, which is a week-long process that happens in cities all over the world to help support and encourage entrepreneurship. We have something called Startup Digest, which is to tell the stories of entrepreneurs and what's going on there. And then the product that I work on, which is the Accelerator product. The Accelerator is a 3-month program. We will be bringing companies from all over the world to Fort Worth during that time from September to December, and we'll be taking them through a process of helping them not only become better businesses and better entrepreneurs and founders, but also to accelerate their business and help them get to a growth much faster than they could by themselves.
So we will have a cohort of entrepreneurs this September?
Yes, sir.
Good.
This is a little bit about the history of Techstars itself. I won't touch too much on this, but you can see started in 2007 all the way to 2022. We can talk more specifically about the companies and what we've done. We have 50 programs in 40 cities and 15 countries around the world. So 50 accelerator programs like what we have in Fort Worth are taking place all over the world with different focuses, focusing on different verticals. Some of them are in person, like the one we're going to do, where people will actually come to Fort Worth. Others of them are hybrid, where you spend some time in the city and out, and some of them are completely virtual. We have had over 7,000 graduate founders, 100 corporate partners. The average raise for a post-program is $1 million. We've had about 3,000 companies come through that process. They've raised around $20 billion with a market cap of over $70 billion. These are some of the companies that have come through the process. We've had 19 unicorn companies. A unicorn company is a company that's worth more than $1 billion in value. You can see some of the innovative partner organizations that are up there that the county, Tarrant County, the city of Fort Worth, UNT Health Science Center are a part of. This is the most interesting fact that we have. In my mind, about 90% of startup companies fail within the first 2 years of existence. Techstars has turned that model over. Of the companies that come through our program, 87% continue to be active or have been acquired since they've been through the program. So it is really flipping the entire process of entrepreneurship on its head and completely changing the outcomes. As you may know, the focus for Fort Worth is physical health. That came through our partnership with the UNT Health Science Center. What does physical health mean? Well, we very broadly defined it as anything that improves the physical health of a person. And then we've picked 6 different focuses or themes to get that a little bit more form and function, not only so that we can explain it to you, but so that companies can figure out as they're looking for accelerators to apply for whether or not this is the right one for them. The 6 themes start with anything related to physical therapy, physical rehabilitation or MSK, musculoskeletal issues, people that have things in their mission on their website and any part of what their business are trying to apply, that is a perfect fit for what we're trying to support here. In addition to that, we're focusing on things that involve software and platform technologies. Platform technologies include things like AR and VR, virtual reality, augmented reality. Then on the other side, we focus on things that are actual hardware, things like wearables, robotics, things that actually move and help adjust and support the physical rehabilitation process. Next, we have sports and performance enhancement. Things like this would include things that would be like preventative support, so teaching an athlete how to properly execute their sport or profession, teaching them how to properly stretch and prepare for the process will reduce the amount of physical therapy that has to happen. This also would be relevant to work-based solutions. So how do we help make sure that our workers inside of our businesses are being properly taught, trained, and explained on how to do their job, so that reduces the amount of physical therapy that's required. And then you get into an entire other market of things like for every physical therapy perfection that you're creating, you're reducing the amount of surgeries, which surgeries for a company can be upwards of $80,000 a surgery. And so you're able to create solutions that are very helpful to self-employed insurers, to other CMS, Medicaid, Medicare, and then private healthcare solutions as well. The next one, which is one that was important to, as I understand, to the process for the county participating, city participating, is a focus on long COVID. Long COVID are the physical ramifications that will come out of the process of what we've been through the global pandemic with COVID. We don't know a lot of what those are today. More and more things are coming out. You'll see things related to sleep, to smell, to taste. And so I think next year in our program, this is a 3-year program, I think next year in our program we'll find more companies that are going to be submitting solutions to address some of those physical ramifications of long COVID. And the 6th theme is anything that we find that's scalable and sustainable, that is innovative and disruptive in the field of physical health. That's what we're focusing on. So here's the process of the timeline, just so you can see. I started in February. Applications closed on May 11th. We spent the last 7 weeks evaluating those companies, looking at those companies, talking to them, trying to figure out if they're a good fit, not only for the program that we're going to be delivering, but also what support and help can UNT Health Science Center provide to the companies, because a lot of what's going to really be helpful to them is the idea of being able to have a network of relationships, access to clinical research, access to simulation centers, access to a network of health professionals that can help play roles as advisors and mentors, and hopefully out of that, some of these companies will get pilot relationships or even customer relationships with the network that comes involved. We held the screening committee last week. and have narrowed the company down to all the companies down to 10, which we will be giving 10 of them offers in the next 2 weeks. At that point, we'll be able to report back who the companies are that have been selected then and have accepted our invitation, and we're beginning to start working on those companies, raising money, preparing for the program in September to December, creating the best possible scenario we can for the companies that are coming to Fort Worth.
Is it a 3-year program that you try to bring in 10
Yes, sir.
companies each of the 3 years?
Yes, sir. 10 companies a year for 3 years.
Okay.
You've probably seen some of this, but I just wanted to illustrate really quickly the launch that happened when we publicly shared the partnership and the organizations that were involved and what was going on here in Fort Worth. We've seen 8 articles published, 43 syndicates picked up, over 53 million people in potential reach. I think people all over the world are now aware of what's going on in Fort Worth. I can say for someone who's new to Fort Worth, that, but not someone that's new to helping build ecosystems for entrepreneurs, that I am extremely encouraged, pleasantly surprised by the leadership that Fort Worth is showing and the organizations within Fort Worth, because the things that you are doing is what is necessary to build a robust ecosystem that supports all entrepreneurs in their quest to build businesses. So although this is focused on physical health, the benefit of supporting this program will support entrepreneurs in all fields all across Fort Worth and Tarrant County.
I will be interested to learn, once you get your cohort in place, how diverse the applicant pool was, and whether any of those diverse firms made it through to the big show.
That's a great point. We have some statistics and data on that. Right, here's our team. Let's see if I can get you the process. If this is what the process looks like to source companies, I won't go through that, but we do a lot of things to try to find companies, diverse companies all over the world. What the statistics for what we saw was that we looked at over 4,500 companies. We had 125 different conversations with founders that came from 16 different countries, but there were 30 different foreign founders. So several countries had multiple applicants. We did our sourcing through places like Crunchbase, PitchBook, F6S, our other companies that have gone through programs before or had applied for programs before. We partnered with universities. We looked at phase 1 grantees and SBIR and STIR for NSF and NIH. We spent an enormous amount of time. We have a big team at Techstars that focus specifically on this process. I will come back to you with the specific numbers of, in terms of diversity and founders. Because we started with 4,500, the numbers went up here, and then as we get smaller and smaller and smaller. But I can tell you that diversity is a core component of what we're looking for, and that I know, in fact, that we have a very diverse top 20 companies that we're looking at, and the top 10 that we're going to be making offers to are very representative of entrepreneurs all across the board.
I'm glad to hear you state all of that publicly.
Yes, sir. So the next part of the process is that we are looking to build out our mentor group. The 3 things that we really provide during this 3-month program to entrepreneurs are advisors and mentors, people that can actually help them grow their business, people who are subject matter experts, who have been there and done it before, that can help them remove obstacles that stand in their way of building their business and also help open doors. The second piece, which I mentioned before, was a customer relationship, business development type stuff, where we're trying to help introduce the companies to people who could potentially purchase their product. And the third thing we help them do is raise capital. As you saw before, the average initial raise for a company post a Techstars program is $1 million. That's not usually all they raise. That's just what they raise in that round. We have an entire portfolio services management team whose job is to continue to work with the company over the life of that business. And so although the 3-month program is really helpful and very intensive and helps them grow, we also continue to work with them for every round of funding they find and really help them leverage our network. Our network is constantly growing, but right now we have about 305,000 companies in our network. We have over 700,000 people. with 14,000 investors that exist in the network that are all there to help support the entrepreneurs that are participating in the program. So we're working to find mentors. We have about 50 or 60 that have already been identified. We hope to have around 100, but we waited on finding some of those mentors because we really wanted to make sure we understood who the companies were before we went out and found the specific mentors. And we will ask the companies specifically, are there the names of 3 to 5 people that you would like to work with? And it's possible and likely that those are within 1 degree of separation of the Techstars network. As you can tell, I'm very enthusiastic about the work of Techstars, so I feel like I can do that in humility because I'm new, and most of the results that have occurred I was not a part of, so I'm bragging on them less than I am bragging on myself and our team, even though our team is great. This is what we look for in a mentor. I bring this up solely to just let everyone in the room know and everybody that's watching that this is what we're looking for, and we need people's help. And so if you are aware of anyone that would fit into this world, specifically in the realm of physical health, specifically someone who is an expert or experienced entrepreneur that has built and or sold a company, those are the type of people that we're looking for, and we would welcome anyone, any of the great entrepreneurs that are across Tarrant County that want to participate in this to reach out to us and have the conversation, because we would welcome them to participate. We have the typical programming. This is just some things that happen during the course of the program that we'll deliver. It's a pretty intensive 3-month process. The entrepreneurs, as I mentioned, will be in Fort Worth with us, and every day we will have a full schedule of workshops where we're teaching them about sales and how to pitch their company to funders and investors and how to develop culture, all the things that an early stage company may not have a large enough team to really have expertise in right now. We're going to help them do that. But one of the most important parts of that process is supporting them with the mentors and giving them time to spend with them while also trying to help them raise money and put them in a position where they can really grow their business. At the end of this process, we'll have a demo day, which is an exciting thing for Fort Worth. It's where we will be able to bring all of those companies and show the progress that they've made at a public event. This is probably going to be held the week of December 10th. And that's where we will invite the entire community, investors, partners, participants to come out and watch and see what these companies have learned, how these companies have grown, what sorts of relationships they've done, and really begin to see the fruit of our labor and the fruit of the labor of these founders as they go through this process. In the end, at Techstars, we really think this is what makes opportunity happen. It's capital plus programs plus connections. So this is what you have supported. I am very excited about getting to work with the county on this, and as I said before, I think Fort Worth and Tarrant County are doing all the right things to create a conducive environment to support entrepreneurs of all types that want to start, build, and grow businesses and stay inside of this great geographic region. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trey. Okay, members of the court, now we can go to the second item, item B on the briefing agenda. This is current emerging health issues. Mr. Tenage is here to address that particular issue. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the court.
Morning, Vinny.
I'm back with our briefing. Quick update. The main highlight today is that yesterday we crossed over from low level of COVID community level to a medium. So what is driving that? As you all know, we've been in a slow upward trend for the last few weeks, but really one indicator was what made us cross over from low to medium. It is the last 7 days worth of new hospital admissions. We're consistently staying above 10%. But other indicators are following. I mean, we've increased our hospitalizations overall. Case rate is increasing slowly. So things are looking like we're progressing in that direction. But there's a sort of a balancing act there. Nationally, we were in a very sharp uptrend for a while and we plateaued out. So hopefully, I'm trying to stay optimistic that hopefully this kind of gives us a good indicator that we may find a plateau, post 4th of July. What happens, we don't know, but I'm hoping that we start to go down. That's our best scenario that we're hoping for at this point, that this was the minor wave that we thought we were going to get. But if things don't go well and post 4th of July we get a bigger wave, then we're in for a little bit of a ride because we're going to follow what happens everywhere else in the U.S. I did put up a U.S. map to show where activity is high, and the reason being we're coming up to the 4th of July holiday travel season. A lot of people are going to be taking vacations. So again, a word of caution, look at what's happening at your destination and prepare accordingly. Even though what I'm saying is that nationally the level has plateaued out, we're plateauing at a high. Most counties and cities that you're going to be visiting are either at a medium or high community level. That means there's plenty of disease activity that if you're not careful, you might get COVID or bring back COVID to your home community. Real quick, I wanted to share what things are different that we should do when you hit a medium level. General common sense measures that we've talked about, but really for an individual, it is to focus on having a testing plan for yourself. One of the things I want to highlight that covid.gov is the governmental website where you can order free tests for your household. And, first time around there was a delay in shipping because everybody wanted one back in December, January timeframe. Now it's a 2 to 3 day turnaround time, and then the website's actually managed by USPS, so you put in an order and the mail guy delivers it to your house. So it's a very easy thing. The other thing is a lot of the pharmacies have rapid test kits available, and most people who have insurance, they don't realize, but it's covered in their insurance up to 8 test kits a month. So you can get a lot and have some on hand. That way, if you end up with symptoms, you have a rapid way to test yourself. And then, if that doesn't work and you want to go to a location to get tested, most pharmacies do have testing options available. Treatments are available. So if you test positive, ask your doctor about Paxlovid. Just kind of like with the flu, we ask for Tamiflu. For COVID, ask for Paxlovid. It seems to be working well for a lot of folks. It cuts down the duration of illness, makes you get better soon. At a community level, again, it's all about prevention, making sure testing is available, which we have plenty of options here in the community. And the other thing is sort of, raising the awareness that, COVID is there and people need to, do their common sense thing. And working with longer-term care facilities, things like congregate settings like correctional facilities, homeless shelters, long-term care facilities that have senior residents and so forth. So our teams are working on all of those, making sure that they're aware that they have enhanced prevention strategies that these folks need to implement. So that's all there is on the COVID front. All the vaccines that I was talking about, Moderna and Pfizer, they finally got all their approvals and okay, so we're already distributing those for anybody who's 6 months and older, so that's there. Quick update on monkeypox. So we have 244 known cases in the United States with 7 in Texas, so the situation is growing. 4,357 across 48 countries across the globe at this point. But there was a big meeting over this last weekend. There's an advisory committee on health regulations, and they advised WHO that the current situation does not warrant calling it a public health emergency of international concern. They may revise that down the road if need be, but so far I think we've escaped that concern at this point. So that's all I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Vinny.
Members of the court, under the administrator's section, Ms. Camareno is going to do items 1 and 2, but before she comes forward, I would like to introduce a new member of our staff, Susan Young. Susan, there she is. We hired Susan as our mobility coordinator. She'll be working with transportation on the bond program and the 24 cities that are going to be receiving funds. Just also note on that, we had the money transferred today, and the $225 million is now in our accounts. So
Wonderful.
So welcome aboard, Susan.
Welcome, Susan.
Spend it. And I assume that the other 208 million from ARPA, or 204, is also in our accounts?
Yes.
So with that, I'm going to ask Ms. Camareno
That's
to
the
come
second
forward and
prong.
do items 1 and 2.
Cool.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Kristen.
All right, item 1, we're asking that you'll receive and file the weekly COVID-19 recovery report.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And then,
Trying to plug in?
I'm sorry, nope, here we go. All right. Kyle showed me how to do this. There I am.
But that's why we don't have anything up there?
There we go.
There it is. Okay, so I just wanted to bring attention to the court, the new reporting website that we've been working on that is now live. This site shares not only recovery resources for the community, but also will help the public and others navigate to our ARPA expenditure reporting and information about our ongoing initiatives. So this is tarrantcounty.com/recovery. I'm not going to go through every page, but I just wanted to point out a couple of highlights.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Keep going.
All right. So if you click there, it's going to take you to our expenditure and reporting page for ARPA. So there are 2 sections. I'll show you ARPA expenditures first. This will be updated weekly as items are approved. All of the amounts that are yellow are budgeted, as all of our ARPA funds have been budgeted.
Wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
What up there are you calling yellow?
Oh. Okay, gold. Thank you. Is that gold? Okay,
It
gold.
looked gold to me, but I wasn't.
Let's go with gold.
Okay, let's go with gold.
Yes, sir.
So that's the remaining
It's
that we
in the
haven't spent.
yellow color palette.
And again, I won't go through all the details because that is here for your viewing pleasure at any time. But you can navigate the entire budget. You can also go through each of the focus areas individually, and it will break it down by goal.
Okay, go back for a second. Don't
Okay.
get too fast here on me.
Oh,
Go back one
sorry.
more.
Just a minute. Let me find my. There we go.
So one thing that you might just do, if we want the public to come to this, or to understand it after they come to this, is you might explain to them that encumbered to the county and the government means we have said we're going to spend it, but we hadn't spent it. But we have obligated ourselves to spend it given that.
That's a great suggestion. We could do some definitions.
Because people are not going to understand what the difference is between, they're going to look at actually spent, they're going to try to figure out what the other stuff is. So
Okay.
I think that would be helpful.
Good, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so you can navigate there between the focus areas, and then the other main component that I want to show you is the initiatives page. And so here, we've got 3 programs that are still in the works that are coming soon. Our community programs call for proposals. As you all know, the proposals are now being evaluated and reviewed. But this page, this dashboard, will continue to be updated as projects are awarded once they are recommended and approved by Commissioners Court. So this is still a work in progress. It will continue.
And don't go off that page for
Continue to be updated. What it shows you now is how many applications were requested. It also shows you the total dollars requested, and then it shows you how many applications were received in each focus area, along with the number of funding requests in each focus area. If you hover over the dots, or click on the dots rather, it will show you the name of the organization that submitted. Again, as contracts are awarded and approved, more information will populate on this page, along with a program description, the area served, the amount awarded, et cetera. So all of, yes, sir.
Click on that little dot that says Dallas. And that would be?
One of the organizations who submitted a proposal.
Can you narrow that down a little bit more? What are
This
they wanting
appears-
us to do in Dallas County?
I don't recall.
They may be physically located in Dallas County, but their programmatic activity is Tarrant County.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the organization.
Okay.
This is not an endorsement of any kind. but I know who they are.
Okay.
And I know that they do work in Tarrant County.
Okay.
So this is simply a landing page for all of the information. This will help not only our internal departments and staff stay updated on what's going on, but also the public. So wanted to be sure you all were aware that is there.
So, and the dollars requested, okay, I see on there, you've got $208 million worth of requests, and how much money are we looking to spend?
35.5 million.
Okay.
Good luck.
A little oversubscribed.
All right.
Thank you, Chris.
I've been given the green light to unplug, so that's what I'm gonna do. Okay. So item 2 is our standing weekly item. There's actually no action required on either item A or B, so.
Very good. Thank you.
So no action on 2?
That's correct. So members of the court, if we can move to item number 3. Well, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court appoint Commissioner Fickus as the designated delegate and Judge Whitley as the first alternate to the 2022 National Association of Counties Annual Conference and Exposition.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, if we can go to item number 3, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve an MOU between Tarrant County and Texas Health Harris Methodist Hospital in Fort Worth, which authorizes Texas Health Methodist Hospital to participate in the Section 340B Public Health Services Act Drug Discount Program.
Move approval.
Second.
This is not new. This is something that
This is something we
has
do
been going on for a
periodically,
while.
yes.
Any further discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Finally, members of court, on item number 5, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve an order prohibiting outside burning within the unincorporated areas of Tarrant County for a period of 90 days from today or until this order is repealed by the Commissioners Court.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Does this also cover fireworks in the unincorporated area, or?
No, this is the outside burning ban.
Okay.
There's a different statute that authorizes you to issue an executive order that bans fireworks for 60 hours. It's 2.5 days. We've done that before. And we're monitoring the drought. Talking with Mr. Renoir yesterday, we have 100 fireworks stands that have opened in the unincorporated areas. As you know, we're going into the 4th of July weekend, so it's pretty dry out there, so we're really watching this.
It is very dry, and I was coming, driving along Loop 820 south, heading west 2 days ago, and there was a grass fire within the city of Fort Worth, right about Campus Drive and Loop 820, just on the side of the road. The conditions are very dangerous right now.
So if we do this 60, and what does that involve? When do we have to do it? And so that means, is it an order that I put out?
Yes.
And what does it accomplish?
It accomplishes they can't set off any fireworks in the unincorporated area for 60 hours.
And it's already that way in the incorporated area, isn't that correct?
In the
Most of the
incorporated
cities?
areas, most cities prohibit the discharging of fireworks.
Okay, so if we were going to do that, that means we would probably be doing it somewhere around Sunday or Saturday or Sunday.
Probably so, somewhere in that area. Mr. Renoir is not here today. I don't believe, Randy, are you here?
Okay.
Randy, I'm sorry, did you want to have any comments on that? I believe I'm correct as far as the 60-hour issue. Yes.
So,
when the legislature changed the laws on the executive order on banning the sale and use of fireworks, you could only do it for 60 hours. And once you do that executive order, then you're to send a request to the governor asking him to extend your executive order to whatever date you want on there. Some counties in the west and in the south have issued the executive order for 60 hours and have done the sale and the use. Most of them have looked at doing the use instead of the sale. The biggest issue from my viewpoint with the use is how to enforce that. There's just be a lot of people shooting fireworks. You know, you're trying to enforce it. So, but the 60 hours is yours. You deem that, and then the governor come along and extend it.
So
Now,
it can be sale and or use?
you can do sale or use, or you can do use. Some counties are choosing, either or. Sale, that stops it. That you might see some lawsuits for that.
You think?
Well, yes, sir. You'll probably see some lawsuits with that. And then the use is just the hardest thing on the enforcement part of it. What we've seen the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years out on the 4th of July is the people from the cities that come out into the unincorporated area, which is the only place you can buy them. And we used to have a problem years ago with people just pulling over on the side of the road out in the county. And I know in the past, Precinct 1 has sent out dump trucks loading up all the fireworks that were left over. We haven't seen that the last 3 or 4 years. The people are taking them back into the cities, we assume, because we're not seeing that problem. And so now the cities are having, issues with that, and they're kind of looking at us to solve that problem, and it's not really, my opinion, it's not really our issue in the cities, so much as they have the same problem we have is enough people to enforce it. So you have the 60 days with the executive order, and then
60 hours.
60 hours, I'm sorry, being out 60 days, but 60 hours, and then request from the governor to extend it. So far from what I heard yesterday evening, the governor has extended, I believe, 8 counties. Now, I'll tell you, one of them was Goliad. I think one of them was Bell County. They were counties that are in extreme drought and drought conditions versus kind of where we are today. Our drought index is at 550 today, so we're still climbing. We're in a severe drought, but not an extreme drought.
What is extreme?
Extreme would be up into the 600 to 800 range on that.
And we're at 5 what?
We're at 550.
Talk to me toward the end of the week.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you.
Your Honor, you might remember we did this, or we contemplated this a while back, probably, I'd say 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah. I remember us doing it one time. I don't recall whether it was that we did the sale or whether we did sale and or use. I mean, I understand we don't have enough people to ticket everybody who's going to be using fireworks. So then it becomes a situation of we're going to ticket the people we catch.
Right. And I can't remember I can remember when we did it, I just can't remember if it was sales and use.
Do you remember, Randy?
Yeah, so in 2005, in December, like 29th of 2005, Judge Vandergrift did an executive order on the sale, and the use of fireworks. And that was during the Christmas season. Our county, along with 16 other counties in Texas, and by the way, we were under a state and federal disaster declaration for wildfires. We were burning the state of Texas up pretty quick. Our county and 16 other counties were sued by the fireworks manufacturers and retailers in state and federal court. We won those cases, so we have precedent, but we haven't done that, to my knowledge, since then. We looked at it in 18, but we backed off of it because our conditions weren't quite there.
Well, I think if we talk enough about it, we'll get some rain by the end of the week.
I hope so, sir.
Now, the other, I guess the one, I know we've got that wildfire right now in Palo Pinto County that's only about a third contained.
Yes,
Have we
sir,
sent people out to that?
Sir?
Have we sent
Yes, sir.
folks out for that?
Yes, sir. We have a few departments up there. And there was yesterday evening, there was another fire north of Grayford, which is just, the big fire is south of Grayford. So it's growing, also. So we're sending people back and forth. Some have gone out and come back, on a demo, and some will go back out. So, but over the weekend, in the unincorporated area, we had 8 grass fires, and none of them were of any magnitude. But I know the possibilities out there, and the subdivisions that we have that are out in the more rural area of our county are a big concern, for the wildfires.
Well, I would ask that you kind of keep me informed, and I would ask the same of the commissioners with regards to their area and their level. But I want to watch that index.
Yes, sir.
And give me a holler on
Yes, sir.
Thursday or Friday, and we'll talk some more about it.
Good.
Did we vote? Okay. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Tidwell?
So I have several items I'm asking the court to consider this morning. The first is I'm asking the court to authorize the county auditor to return funds received from Google in approximately the amount listed in your court communication of approximately $9,000.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion, a second. There's just a couple of things. One, we should, in my opinion, we should never have taken this money in the first place, and I don't quite understand how it is that we got a contract that was signed. This may be more of a question for the DA's office, how we signed a contract that authorized Google to give us this money and it didn't come before court.
This was all, my involvement in this is Judge Kim at the juvenile court opened the Google account, signed up all the paperwork, and then when it was time he requested that we receive the funds, we sent him the information that was needed to send to Google for that money to come to Tarrant County. I have never seen the actual documents, but I did supply the county's tax ID number and banking instructions, and the money was deposited in the county's account. And I understood at the time I took the money, there seemed to be some urgency to remove it out of Google, and certainly Judge Kim was interested in sending it to the county. And I took the money knowing that whether or not we chose to keep the money was the commissioner's court's discretion.
Well, and I know that the whole video, the whole YouTube thing was brought about by COVID, by the court administration out of Austin, but that a lot of, in most of the situations, they were immediately deleting the YouTubes, and we kept it for a long time. Now, it's my understanding, and I'm glad that we've now deleted all of those YouTubes on these juvenile cases. And I just don't want and never felt like we are to profit off of that. But I'm more concerned about the ability of anybody to sign a contract and get that money here without it coming to the court's approval. And so I guess if we need to send a little reminder out to folks that you can't contract on behalf of the county, then maybe we need to do that, because in my opinion, we should never have even implied that we wanted that money from that standpoint. So whatever we need to do, Mark, if y'all need to talk about it over there, or if we need to send a reminder out to departments and elected officials that you don't have the ability or the authority to contract on behalf of the Commissioners Court, on behalf of the county, not on behalf of the Commissioners Court, but on behalf of the county, then I hope we do that and prevent us from getting in this situation in the future.
We'll discuss it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
The next item we have is we're asking you to release and substitute depository collateral in $67,084,000 as outlined in your court communique.
Move.
Renee, pull your mic down, please.
Pardon?
He can't
Pull
hear
your
you.
mic down.
Oh, sorry, yes. Can you hear me
Thank
now,
you.
sir?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next, we're asking the court to receive and file our audit report on cash counts related and work in the Human Resources Department.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And the next item is we're asking the court to receive and file the auditor's report related to review of the mercantile real property lease contracts with Facilities Management Department, and you have their response included.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Would you like to go back to
We have item 3.
approve the financial statements for April?
Oh, I'm sorry, I had them under my pile underneath, and yes, I was going to ask you to do that. I'm sorry, I did them out of order, I apologize. So the last item we had is for the county, for the Commissioners Court to approve the Tarrant County financial statements for the period ended April 2022.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the financial statements for April. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning.
We have one additional item for the court this morning. That's item 2. We're asking the court to approve table of organization changes for the 231st District Court as well as the Sheriff's Office. As explained in your court communique, Judge Navarez, a judge of the 231st District Court, is requesting the transfer of 2 deputy sheriff positions to his court so that they can serve as his bailiffs. If approved, this action will take effect July 9th. And as a reminder, and as is explained in your court communique, the family district courts do have the authority to appoint up to 2 bailiffs. And so Judge Navarez is exercising that option, and there will be no impact, of course, to the budget because the positions currently exist in the Sheriff's Department.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have 7 items for your consideration this morning. The first item is an award recommendation regarding bid number 2022-136. This is our annual contract for heavy equipment repair and services for OEM parts. awarding to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors listed per hourly rate and discount from list price.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
The second item is also an award recommendation regarding bid number 2022-142. This is our annual contract for record services used countywide, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors listed per unit price.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And the third item is also an award recommendation regarding bid number 2022-151. This is our annual contract for prisoner transport van conversion, awarding to Pursuit Safety for transportation services per unit price, per hourly rate, and markup for parts.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And the fourth item is regarding bid number 2022-153. This is an award recommendation for our annual contract for locksmith services and supplies, awarding to the various primary and secondary vendors listed per unit price, discount from list price, and percentage markup from cost.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And we're going to skip down to item 6. This is a request to reject all bids and rebid with revised specifications for bid number 2022-135, our annual contract for THC quantification analyst for the Sheriff's Office.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
The next item, we're asking for approval of a contract extension for RFP number 2017-122. This is our annual contract for inmate commissary services, inmate banking services, deposit release services, and optional value-added technology for the Sheriff's Office with Keith Commissary Network.
Move approval.
This could die for a lack of a second, but if it does, somebody ain't gonna be eating.
For approval.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Are any of these services that historically have come, that the funds come to the county versus going into the commissary fund? The optional added value technology is something that I don't understand exactly what that may entail. And in past services, some monies have come directly to the county and don't have to go in, or don't go into the commissary fund.
Sure.
Sheriff, come on down.
I don't.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The value added that was there was because of the tablets that were part of the commissary contract a couple of years ago. And
Can't hear you, Sheriff.
I'm sorry. Is that the tablets that are in the jail now, where the inmates can order commissary and do scripts in email and text, is that we have a contract on that right now, and we were trying to separate those contracts out where it's commissary, and we just didn't have time to get both of those things ready.
And I guess my question though, in the past, and maybe this question should have been asked a couple of years ago, but on the emails and the stuff along that lines, that'd be the same as like phone calls. And that revenue, I think, was coming to the county as opposed to going to the commissary fund.
The phone calls are absolutely coming. The tablets have always gone to that, but we actually broke those out where I think that we need to have that discussion on whether it needs to go to the general fund or where do we want to go with it. I was just trying to slow it down. That's the reason that we were asking for the extension. Because that technology has traveled so fast and there's so many updates on it, is that we want to be cutting edge on it. We want it to go to the right place. And we
So
don't-
how long, you saying it's an extension, how long are we extending it?
I think, pardon me?
1 year.
1 year?
So that conversation can continue. What's the status right now? Where does Helen, come on up here.
We are trying to align it with the inmate calling contract because, like the sheriff said, it's a lot of different processes we're trying to roll into one. And so that's why we're asking for an extension to line it up when the inmate calling contract.
Okay, so in the meantime, is all of it going to the commissary fund?
The tablets are, the tablet revenue is. That is correct. That's originally how it was set up 2 years ago or whenever it was, that we amended that.
Okay, so as we get through, as we kind of go into yeah, what are you doing? Well, I know, but have we been discussing this in the budget the last couple of years? And how much money are we talking? Do you have any clue?
So I would just say to you that back before Chris Taylor left, it's been quite a while, I brought to your attention that there was this conflict from the auditor's perspective. I could go back and find my audit report. It was discussed with the court, and at the time there was no action taken. So if this is an action that the court wishes, but it is something that we identified in the past, the tablet money was not clear on where it should go, and that it was going into the commissary and not coming in, and more people were using the tablets as opposed to the telephone, and so the revenues were changing. And I don't have any amounts off the top of my head, but this is an item that I've known about for a while, and the court, if they wishes to take action, can do so, but that's up to the court.
Well, I don't mind extending, but I would like for us to have the conversation.
And we're not objecting to that revenue.
Yeah, I hear that.
It is that we want to make sure the technology's right and that when we deliver these new tablets or the new contract, we want to make sure they're secure for all facilities and access. It is going to do wonders for the jail in a lot of ways.
Okay, thank you.
I'd be interested to know how we collect revenue off of an email.
Off email?
Yeah,
Is that where you would collect the revenue off of is the text messaging?
text messaging.
Yes, sir.
How do you collect revenue off of that?
Lord knows. Now, some of it, that's in the weeds for me, Commissioner, but I know that there's revenue being collected, as the auditor pointed out, and I know that there's also, they're able to order commissary stuff off there, and that obviously does go to the commissary, but I think there's a
And
portion
there
of it.
should not be a charge for that.
Right, but there's revenue streams from the text messaging, and I think also, I'm sorry, and the other revenue streams is they can order music and movies.
Really?
Yeah. With hey, if I may clarify, with a lot of guards on that, but they can do that, and that's where a lot of that revenue comes from.
Okay,
That's interesting.
we need to look into that.
We do.
And Renee, I'm sorry we didn't look into it 2 or 3 years ago, but that doesn't mean we're not going to look into it now. Any other discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And our last item is an approval of an invoice payment for service calls, for juvenile services. This is an invoice that we received from Texas Towing in the amount of $170. The wrong vendor was called for the towing, and it was just a mistake by juvenile services. They had little cards that were made up, who to call in each individual car, and it was referencing a towing company from an old contract. So they've corrected the problem since then.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Interlocal agreement, I see that Commissioner Allen has one.
Move approval of Commissioner Allen's interlocal agreement with the city of Dalworthington Garden and the permission to proceed.
Has this been approved by the executive office?
And the attorney's indicating that they've approved it, so we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Court members, you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second. We have motion, a second. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, I believe
We have a appointment. Commissioner Johnson, I believe you have an appointment.
Not aware of it.
Historical Commission is what I had down.
Commissioner Johnson has an appointment of Christopher John Morris to the Historical Commission. I move approval.
I second.
Is that for my appointment? Y'all are making a motion and seconding?
We sure are.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
I think so.
I'm going to take that as a yes, and the motion passes unanimously.
Okay.
And if by some chance that was a mistake and it was supposed to be me doing that because I had something and his was full, then we'll figure that out later. Public comment, I believe we've already done our briefing items. And so I think we are now down to public comments, and we have a few of those today. First is Daniel Bennett.
Judge Whitley, Commissioners, thank you again for my opportunity to speak here. And Judge Whitley, I would encourage you to correct me during my public comments if I say something that's incorrect. I appreciate your characterization of your payments to the appraisal district as a bill. Under the property tax code, I don't think a lot of people understand this, back in 1980, the use of these entities in the 254 county is compulsory. And they get their budget funded through the entities. So you do pay your bill with tax money, but that's budgeted in your budget. And they too, which you probably have gotten, is the TAD's budget, which you do approve. So you're approving how much they're going to charge you, which is somewhat of a conflict, but I understand why they do it. So to say that TAD doesn't collect taxes, that's true. But they collect my tax money when they appraise my value of my settlement, and my city pays that. And that's in my ad valorem tax rate that's approved by the city, as is the tax rate that the county commissioners approve. And I think that's an important distinction for the public. Now, a tax assessor collector is optional under the property tax code. You can have your own property tax assessor collector, and you can fund that and do it yourself. But you cannot have an appraiser for the property tax code in your municipality unless you're just buying property and you're advising the council or the school board of the value of the contract. So I do want to make that distinction. And I believe Mr. Torlin Cassie, instead of saying he missed it by an adverb. So there is a small fraction of taxes that TAD collects, and it comes out of my pocket. That's a pass-through tax. So when you get that tax bill, Commissioner Brooks, you're using my money to pay it. So they do collect my portion of my tax from my resident. I just want to make that clear to everybody that listened to last week's conversation. That's all I had to say. Would you like to correct me?
No, sir. I'm not going to get into it.
Well, there's something to get into?
No.
Oh, then everything I said was correct.
I'm not going to agree with that either. But you're welcome to your opinion.
Well, I had 19 more seconds. I'll just stand here for those 19 seconds.
Why?
Thank you for your time.
Next is Gwen Johnson.
Judge Whitley and court. I can tell by the looks that I got. Everybody's wondering, like, well, who is she? What does she want? I'm here on behalf of the registered voters of Tarrant County. As you all know, you stated in your newsletter on the integrity of the election. Tarrant County's election integrity is almost null and void. I have been an election judge for 30+ years, and I've never experienced the things that I've experienced this election year at the polls. There is no concern for the election workers, you know, as far as the administrators concerned. I worked the election on May the 7th. I did not get paid for that election until June 1st. And that's because the administrator, whom I reached out to, chose not to acknowledge it. What is happening is they are hiring judges off the street. Anybody that says they want to work an election can go in and work an election. That makes our election process suffer. That's not, it's bad enough that the training was cut from 4 hours to 2. There's no way that you can run an election on 2 hours worth of training and 0 training. And that's what's happening with our elections. Not only did Mr. Wilder retire, but I retired as well from working the elections because of what I've experienced since March 1st and working these elections. We are going to have some support from the administrator of the Tarrant County election process. We get no support from him. I had a sit down with him on Valentine's Day and asked him to give us a list of people that were not able to vote because their applications were rejected. And he's like, well, that's something I can't give you. Where's the support? I'm asking this court to please revamp the administrative process of our elections because there is no integrity going on right now. And after 30+ years, I have never seen it as bad as it is now. And so I'm asking this court to please look into this administrative operations and revamp them because we cannot continue as we head into November under these conditions. I was attacked working the election on March 1st in the primaries, and I did it as a favor on May the 7th, but I will not continue under these conditions. Something has to be done with the election process. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Rick Scharfenberg. Does not appear that he's here. Mi Wang.
Good morning, Judge Whitley and commissioners.
Morning.
Yeah. Today I will talk about the post-election partial manual count per state election code 127.201. This code is to ensure the accuracy of the tabulation of electronic voting system results. It requires to select certain percent of the precincts and count all races. As I learned, our election administration conducted this partial manual count under Secretary of State instruction for each election. to November 2020 election and to March 2022 election, Tarrant County Election Administration took an option of counting per the selected polling locations instead of the selected precincts. However, these two post-election manual counts were not able to be verified. Even Secretary of State's November 2020 election audit seemed verified it. Let me tell you why. Because when we vote, we will receive a ballot printed out on a paper, on a piece of paper, or accurately say, paper printed voting records. So the basic accounting rule is the data must be able to refer back to the original document. So this printed paper ballot is the original document. But there is no polling location names displayed on the ballot or on these paper printed voting records. So when there is no polling location names on it, but the count were based on the polling locations, obviously the counts were not trackable and not verifiable. So I would like to suggest our county to consider make a correction on this practice to compliance with our election code. Thank you very much.
I think you're asking us to do something. I guess I can state the answer to that question. We counted by precinct, which meant that the elections department had to go to many different locations to pull ballots. So somewhere on that ballot, there is a precinct designation.
Correct.
And
but there's no polling names.
We were found to be perfect in not only the precinct, the polling locations, and a race. And all three were found to be perfect on the March 2022 election as requested by the Secretary of State. So to indicate that it was not, or that there was no way for that to happen, is incorrect.
No, it's not perfect. If that polling location name not stated on the ballot, and when you count the ballot by selected polling location,
It was designated because it was in those boxes.
Yeah,
for
you
that
can say
polling
by
location.
box, but box is not original document. Box is a box. Box is not our ballot. When we count the ballot, we cannot go by box.
We go by polling location. Thank you for your comments.
We need to go by precinct per election code. Thank you.
We agree to disagree. I believe that's all of the public comments we have at this time, so we'll recess our open meeting to proceed to close to discuss items exempted under section 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
Are you talking to GK or to me?
GK.
Oh, okay.
I used to say that all the time.
Are they there?
Yes.
Having returned from our closed session, there being no business to conduct at this time, we are now adjourned.